my shoes and out the door. 5, I'm alive. 6, 7, 8, feeling great.
Hello, BYWG podcast tribe. This is Dr. Noah. We wanted to make you aware of our August Book of the Month and Product of the Month. All the links to the book and product of the month will be listed in the show notes in iTunes, in our weekly newsletters, and on our website at www.beyondyourwildestgenes.com at the Listen Now tab. Our book of the month is The Seeds Plan, Prevent and Reverse Alzheimer's Disease by Dr. Jenny Ann Freeman. Dr. Freeman will be on the podcast in August and has been on before discussing the power of turmeric. You can find this interview at www.beyondyourwildestgenes.com in the archives at the Listen Now tab. The product of the month is Alitura, our choice for all natural skincare products. Hint, without a doubt, the night cream is my favorite. You can listen to me interview the creator and owner of Alitura, Andy Nilo, in the archives on the Beyond Your Wildest Genes podcast as well. Enjoy the upcoming podcast. Hello and welcome back to Beyond Your Wildest Genes podcast. My name is Dr. Noah DeCoyer and I am your co-host. Today our guest is Dr. Will Cole. He happens to be a repeat offender, and if you want to listen to Dr. Cole talk about his journey and thoughts on functional medicine, please go to www.beyondyourwildestgenes.com. Click the Listen Now tab and check out our first interview that was released on May 7th. Good to talk to you again, my friend.
Likewise. Thanks for having me back.
So I hear you wrote and you're releasing a new book. Is that the case?
That is the case. I'm very excited for everybody to see it. It's coming out August 28th. It's on pre-order now. It's called Ketotarian. It's a plant-based ketogenic sort of food experience for people to bring into their lives.
Great. So we're going to chat about that today, but let me just do Dr. Cole's bio just to get a feel for who he is, and then we'll get started. Dr. Cole graduated from Southern California University of Health Sciences in Los Angeles, California. He has his postdoctoral education and training in functional medicine and clinical nutrition through the Institute of Functional Medicine and Functional Medicine University. Dr. Cole consults in the Pittsburgh area and phone or webcam consultations for people around the world. He specializes in clinically investigating underlying factors and customizing health programs for chronic conditions such as thyroid issues, autoimmune, hormonal dysfunction, digestive disorders, diabetes, heart disease, and fibromyalgia. Dr. Cole has been featured numerous times on Pittsburgh news affiliates, WTAE TV, KDKA TV, WPGH Fox. He is a health writer for international publications such as Mind, Body, Green, and lectures nationally, and now we could say you are an author.
Yeah, I write a lot, but it's like always on like article form. So this is my first go around of putting it, in paper.
All right, so let's start really simply. Even though we've had 4 or 5 interviews regarding the ketogenic diet before, from your perspective, what is the ketogenic diet, and what are the benefits that you see using a ketogenic diet?
Yeah, so it is a way to shift the body metabolically from being a sugar burner to a fat burner in the simplest terms. So our body has 2 different forms of fuel, ways to get energy, and we can get it through sugar and fat and to varying degrees of both of those. Most people in the West are burning sugar for fuel. They're on this sort of blood sugar roller coaster where they go from meal to meal and they have to snack in between meals just to get through the day because they'll get hangry and irritable and low blood sugar and brain fog if they don't. That is an option, and to varying degrees, whether it's someone's eating the standard American diet or eating a real foods diet that's predominantly carbohydrates and sugars and grains and legumes and starches and that kind of stuff, they're in varying degrees of being in sugar burning mode. And it's akin to like kindling on a fire. It'll give you a flame, it'll a burst of energy, but then you'll have to kind of put more kindling on to maintain that flame, to maintain that burning, that energy, that fuel. The other option is being in nutritional ketosis, or that's what a keto or ketogenic diet achieves. It's shifting the body to sort of this slow burning log on a fire, which you don't have to refuel as often. It'll maintain longer, and that the body does that naturally when you lower the amount of carbohydrates you are eating and you focus instead on healthy fats for fuel, which from an ancestral health standpoint, humans would have eaten that way for most of our existence, and our genetics haven't changed in thousands of years. So it's kind of eating according to our biochemistry and our DNA, and our body, and naturally, because of that, our body naturally produces ketones, or these sort of molecules for fuel. And the main ketone is called beta hydroxybutyrate, and beta hydroxybutyrate can pass through the blood-brain barrier and give your brain fuel. It can pass through the cellular membrane and actually increase what's called mitochondrial biogenesis, or increase your cellular energy, and it's strongly anti-inflammatory as well. And we know inflammation is really a component to just about every health problem we face today. So it's a natural way for your body to lower inflammation levels. A lot of cool health benefits, and that's what a ketogenic diet does.
Now, Atkins made the ketogenic diet popular, 20, 25 years ago, but there were some problems and some misunderstanding with this whole process. What are some of those reoccurring problems that you see with the conventional approach to the ketogenic diet?
Yeah, so the Atkins diet was definitely low carb. They didn't really give specifics on moderating protein or hitting certain amounts of fat as well. So yes, someone eating an Atkins diet could be in ketosis, but it wasn't the end all be all. It wasn't the primary objective of an Atkins diet, which was just basically to lower carbohydrates for a time. A ketogenic diet is intentional with actually making that metabolic shift, which wasn't always going to be everybody that was eating an Atkins diet. They may or may have not been in ketosis. But there are a lot of problems with the Atkins diet and a lot of problems with a conventional ketogenic diet. So it's my primary, what I spend most of my week is seeing patients. So I see a lot of people with really good intentions not doing the right thing when it comes to a lower carb diet like Atkins, or even a low carb paleo diet, or a ketogenic diet. I think that especially in the conventional keto world, there's this movement within that sort of umbrella of the keto world of just eating basically any food as long as it's high fat, low carb. So they end up eating lots of dairy, lots of fatty meats, and they're avoiding vegetables because of their carb content. And this can work for a short period of time. I don't deny that. And it's certainly better short term than the standard American diet. But long term, I don't think it's for optimal health. And just because something's high fat, low carb doesn't mean it's ultimately healthy for long term, robust health. So it's really, and that's why I wrote Keto-Tarian as sort of this amalgamation of the best of the keto world and the best of the plant-based world, and kind of marrying it together as this Keto-Tarian way of eating, which is plant-based. But still you get the benefits of ketosis through it.
All right. Well, explain to somebody who has a basic understanding of the ketogenic diet. They're saying, how can I possibly eat a high amount or a bunch of vegetables every day and still be in ketosis? How is that possible?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's really twofold here. There's first of all, in the Keto-Tarian, there's three different ways of doing a Keto-Tarian way of living. There's vegan ketogenic options, vegetarian ketogenic options, and pescatarian ketogenic options, or what I call vegetarian, basically plant-based, but still wild-caught fish and shellfish and that kind of thing. So people can eat all three, and that's what I do, or people can just do one based on personal preference or religious or ethical reasons. And that's really another reason why I wrote the book, is for everybody in the plant-based world that, again, doing things with good intentions, better than the standard American diet. But I see a lot of pitfalls when it comes to the conventional plant-based way of eating, the vegan and vegetarian world, is that many of them are carbitarians. They're eating tons of grains to refuel and legumes, and they're sort of on that blood sugar roller coaster, just like our standard American dieter friends, to a lesser degree, but there's still many of them still growing in fatigue. Their digestion is wrecked and they're inflamed. So you can do a plant-based diet in a healthy way, and that's what I tried to get across in Ketotarian. I also make the argument, or bring the facts in, I should say, of talking about the bioavailability of omega fats and fat-soluble vitamins and other reasons too, to consider bringing at least wild-caught fish into your diet for optimal health, for our brain, for inflammation levels, and for food variety too. And so that's kind of the flexibility of a Ketotarian way of eating. But there are some people that are just going to prefer, or because of some reason, stick with being vegetarian and vegan, and they can completely do that in ketogenic way. But to answer your question specifically, the plant-based fats in general are calorically dense, so you actually don't need that much of them to feel full. And those are going to be olives and olive oil, avocados, avocado oil, nuts and seeds. That's the plant-based fats, and coconut oil and all the derivatives of the amazing things that you can get from a coconut. And then to the vegetarian options, we bring in eggs, like pasture-raised organic eggs, and ghee, clarified butter. And then obviously the pescatarian options is the wild-caught fish and that kind of stuff. So you have really a strong amount of plant-based and vegetarian fats for people to do that. And that's just the fats. And then obviously all the non-starchy vegetables, and to kind of bring in the fiber and more plant-based foods into your life. And I show in the book is that the fiber content actually decreases blood sugar and actually satiates you and curbs appetite, and something called intestinal gluconeogenesis. And it's different than hepatic gluconeogenesis, where you can get a blood sugar spike from, let's say, eating too much protein, is that the fiber content from non-starchy vegetables tends to have sort of a blood sugar lowering effect, and it feeds a healthy microbiome, which our microbiome, all the bacteria in our gut, then make short-chain fatty acids, which then one of those short-chain fatty acids is called butyrate. And butyrate is like the metabolic cousin to beta-hydroxybutyrate, and our gut makes it naturally from plant foods. And butyrate in our gut has the same health benefits as beta-hydroxybutyrate, the ketone. So it provides fuel, it brings inflammation levels down, and it provides energy for our body. So that's sort of the ethos of Ketotarian.
And you didn't talk about it, but you mentioned it in so many words, and you're consuming enormous amounts of micronutrients that your body so desperately needs that would miss if you're just eating meat and just fats all day.
Exactly, yeah. So it's phytonutrient rich, which again is great from an antioxidant standpoint. It's good for bringing in the inflammation levels down on that level. Absolutely. So it's a nutrient-dense diet, and a phytonutrient-dense diet specifically.
Now, you didn't bring up any other pasture-raised meats. Is this plan essentially fish-based, like pescatarian? There's no, because I'm a big fan of ButcherBox and U.S. Wellness Meats. Or on this plan, are we staying away from grass-fed beef and pastured pork and organic chicken and the such?
Yeah, so I love ButcherBox too. So this is for 8 weeks. We are going to do a plant-based ketogenic diet. And again, some people, they just prefer not eating lots of meat. And then there's a lot of people in the keto world that need to kind of shift this way and recalibrate some of the food choices they're having. So it's kind of recentering for the person that wants to get into keto in a healthy way, or somebody in the plant-based or the keto world that needs to recalibrate ketosis in a healthy way. And then do that for 8 weeks, because a lot of people in the plant-based world, most of them are not going to be fat adapted. They're not going to be in ketosis. So do this for 8 weeks. And then if somebody's already fat adapted, they're eating a ketogenic diet, then do this plant-based keto for 8 weeks. And then from there, we make some customization. So people can bring in red meat if they want to, like grass-fed beef, which I think is a great food for people to bring in. But it's not the center of their diet. It's not everything they're eating all day long. I think there still can be plant-centric and still keto, and bring in the red meat, once, twice a week if they want to do that. And then for the person that is just, maybe they want to increase their carbs a little bit, they can cycle keto. They don't have to be in ketosis all the time, even though some people benefit from being in ketosis long term. There's a lightness and grace-based way of eating, I think, a ketogenic diet for the everyday American. They don't have to be in ketosis all the time. And then after that 8 weeks, they built that metabolic flexibility. They're more of a fat burner, and then they can moderate their carbs if they want to some days and then go back in ketosis. There's this flexibility where we can be flexible with macros and moderate our carbs, or we can be flexible with bringing in grass-fed beef as well.
Yeah, that's how I live my life, and I'm happy to see that it's in written form now. To me, this is very, very, very exciting. Very exciting.
Thank you.
You've talked about inflammation quite a bit, and I also know that you're an expert in dealing with autoimmune conditions. Is this talked about a lot in the book? Is this is this a central feature in this book in some way?
Oh, absolutely. So it's running through the whole core of the book. It's like the inflammation spectrum and educating people about that, and the rise of autoimmune conditions, and then the benefits of a plant-based ketogenic book in dealing with inflammation and the impact that ketones and lowering carbohydrates can have on attenuating and lowering inflammation is a huge facet of why I even wrote the book, is because these are the people I hang out with, or people with these health problems, with these inflammatory and autoimmune issues, and then giving them a tool, maybe somebody that's not my patient, but is reading the book, across the world, or, in some remote place of the country, and they're like, whoa, I can do this with my breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And obviously, we not necessarily all those 3 meals, because we talk about intermittent fasting and the benefits of intermittent fasting and how that could be another way to increase ketosis and increase autophagy or cellular repair. So yeah, it's definitely the heart of the book is using this way of eating to help with inflammation. It's actually it's the subtitle is to help with, it's a longer subtitle, but one of that is to calm inflammation.
Right. Now, and within the book, what other you outline 8-week plans or 12-week plans, and you have recipes and all those sorts of things in the book as well?
Yeah, so the book is half health, like cool health facts and science, but it's easily understood. Like I'm used to taking the sort of deep science and making it easy to understand for patients. So that's what the first half of the book is. And then the second half of the book are like pretty pictures and recipes and meal plans and all of these resources for people to bring into their life.
Excellent, excellent. Is there a full-blown cookbook in the works?
Yeah, this basically is a cookbook. Half of it is a cookbook. It is half health and half cookbook. But yeah, definitely, I think it could be a full cookbook after this. But there's over 80 recipes in this book alone, so it's pretty much a cookbook right now.
I want to circle back and get a little nerdy for 1 second, because you mentioned something that I never heard about, and it's been sticking in my head since you brought it up. You talked about hepatogluconeogenesis, where you basically take protein and you could turn it into a carbohydrate for fuel. But then you mentioned intestinal gluconeogenesis. Can you just make that distinction again? Because that's the first time I'm ever hearing this.
Yeah. So there's some studies done on this, which I wanted to include in the book, basically to show the keto world, hey, look, for most people, unless they're severely insulin resistant, and even then, I still would say that they should be eating these plant foods and they shouldn't be avoiding them. They just have to be dealing with these underlying insulin resistance in the longer term. But basically, intestinal gluconeogenesis, or making sugar in the intestines, is actually has a net lowering effect on blood sugar. So it's a way that our body naturally provides itself with glucose, because our brain still needs glucose. It's going to burn ketones, but on a secondary level, not a primary. The primary fuel will be ketones, but a secondary fuel will still be glucose. And our body naturally makes it. That's why there's no essential carbohydrates. Our body does this naturally, and it can naturally make it in the intestines, in the gastrointestinal system. So, and that's through fiber, through eating plant foods primarily, and it's going to break down these the fiber into the glucose that your body needs for fuel.
Interesting. Fascinating. Thank you. Is there anything else in the book that you'd like to highlight, talk about, something that our audience needs to know?
Yeah, I think in general, it's that you don't have to eat like a rabbit to be plant-based. You don't have to eat like a rabbit to be healthy. There's a lot of really satiating recipes in the book, filling recipes where you're like, whoa, I'm not eating just plants. I'm just eating plant-based to be filled up and to feel like full and feel like you had a good meal. So I really wanted to get that across. And that's mainly due to the healthy fats. And then obviously how you prepare it and all the herbs and spices and making it, taste good and look good and all of that stuff. But I mean, just that's why a ketogenic diet is sustainable for people. And that's people that aren't fat adapted look at that and say, well, it's not sustainable. And that's one of the critiques that a keto diet gets. But if you actually look at the research, there's a researcher in Indiana, I don't know his name, but we had him on our podcast on Keto Talk, and he looked at the retention rate long term. It was in the 90% of people that are just everyday people maintain this diet long term was really high, way higher than other diets. And the main reason for that is that your appetite is curbed. You're not hangry anymore. You're not irritable, because that's only can last so long. As people are good at a few weeks of this or that, but it's like then they give in to their cravings. It's unsustainable. But when someone's fat adapted, there's a natural satiating benefit, and their appetite is curbed, so they're not having these cravings anymore. That makes this way of eating very sustainable and very filling. And that is, I think, something that I want to get across for people that maybe aren't familiar with a ketogenic diet.
Oh, that's unbelievable. I'm excited. I have the book pre-order. Very much so looking forward to getting it in my hands. I asked you this question
Awesome.
The last time we spoke, and I'm going to ask it again. And I ask every interview this question. What is your routine or basic routine from waking to going to sleep?
Okay, so it may have changed since we talked last. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I am a creature of habit, so it probably hasn't changed too much. But I wake up in the morning. You want me to take you through the whole day, right?
Yeah, please.
What I do? All right,
Sure.
Cool. So this is going to be – so I wake up in the morning and I have like a moment of gratitude and just in prayer of just thanking God for the day and, hey, look, this is going to be the seed of my day. I want this to be a positive start. And then I let my dogs out, and I'm normally I'm fasting in the morning. So I typically will have a 4-sigmatic mushroom coffee. It has chaga in it and I think reishi. It's another mushroom, adaptogenic mushroom in a coffee blend. So I have that in the morning, and then I'll have water, and I will fast in the morning. And then I'm hitting the ground running. Once I get into my clinic, about 90% of my patients are online. So I'm standing at my standing desk, Skyping and FaceTiming and all the different webcam interfaces with patients. And then at lunch, I'll eat my lunch, which is typically a Keto-Tarian type meal. And then I will see patients for the rest of the day. It's pretty boring because I'm just in my office, like consulting people on my laptop. And then I go home and I hang out with my kids and we have a dinner together, and all of that stuff. So it's very boring, but I love what I do, and it's not boring for me, but it's maybe boring to talk about it when you just lay it all out there like that.
I love Four Sigmatic too. We've had Tero on the podcast twice.
Oh, cool. Yeah, he's a good friend of mine. We just got to hang out last week, and great stuff, Four Sigmatic.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, that's great. Listen, give our audience, let us know again when the book is coming out, and I mean, most people get their books on Amazon, so we'll have the Amazon links. But when does it come out again?
Comes out August 28th. It's on pre-order now. All the links are on drwillcole.com too. There's a Ketotarian page at drwillcole.com with extra like assets and cool like swags for you to check out too.
Cool. When we're done with the interview, Doc, hang on. I got one more question to ask of you. But thank you very, very much. The link to the book will be in the show notes and on our website at the Listen Now tab. My name is Dr. Noah DeCoyer, your co-host, and you are listening to the Beyond Your Wildest Genes podcast. If you like what you've heard today, please share this with your friends and family and encourage them to subscribe on iTunes. Better yet, if you've enjoyed this podcast, please give us a 5-star rating. It helps us help more people get this information. You can sign up for our incredible weekly email at www.beyondyourwildestgenes.com. Thank you. And as my oldest son Hayden says, be awesome and never unawesome.
One, two, three, four, get my shoes and out the door. 5, I'm alive. 6, 7, 8, feeling